I came out as gay in 1945, the year that the war ended. Myrna Caelan told me from her home high in the Hollywood Hills of California. I was dating a softball player that I met at the gay bar. I met her at Mona's, or else it was the Paper Pony. My first night in a gay bar was freedom. I had a gay male friend, and he took me there. Myrna was in the gay bars for 8 years. She showed me her treasure from the 40s, a gold softball on a necklace chain from her first lover, inscribed with the initials from the professional softball league to which women belonged while the men were in the war. We went to the bar all the time. My entire social life was there. There was no other place. However, that night she first went to the bar, something else happened. Her father died that night, and she blamed herself even though she knew that was irrational. She couldn't get over it. Also, she told me that I'm Jewish and we lost so many people in the Holocaust, I felt it was my duty to have children. There was no other way to have children in the 1950s without getting married to a man. I married someone I disliked. That's what I felt I deserved because I was gay, and I felt so guilty. She married a psychiatrist, someone to whom she would never be able to tell her secret. Her husband's practice was very involved in actively trying to change the sexuality or sexual deviancy of his clients, as would be almost any psychiatrist practice at the time. If her sexual past and preference had been known to him, in all likelihood, she would have lost her children. The brief story came as I was packing up my things, and although we had been speaking for about 3 hours, this was in response to my final question. Is there any last thing you want to say about what the bars meant to you? I meant when she actually went to the bars in the 1940s, not knowing there was another story. She told me a story about when she did not actually go to the bars, but when she made sure the bars were still there when she was married.
Well, I had insomnia. I used to phone up all the gay bars just to hear them answer the phone. Just to hear the noise. Oh, yes.
So you would just call and just be on the phone?
I would just hear the noise and the laughter in the background. I just wanted to be there.
It helped you just to know it was out there? That's a really special story.
Yeah. Oh, God.
In you go. There. Hold your breath. So I'm dripping. This video started out as an essay and then kind of turned into something else. I promised a joyful video and I think I may have oversold just a little. It's not entirely joyful, but it is whole, complete, complicated, and messy like life or fisting. I didn't intend on that being the case when I started writing, but that's just how it had to be, or I risked putting out something superficially positive that wasn't representative of a lot of our experiences. Because joyful, sure, we are, but angry, complicated, and messy, unexpected, that's actually us, baby. That's our vibe. Make sure you stick around to the end because I have news, but we'll get to that. Come on, sweaty. We've got to talk.
Tell me what you want. Let's talk. Let's be sure that we know where we are. So far, so good. Is there anything better than knowing that you love me? Know them
If you've ever spent any time on social media, you might have forgotten what happiness is. So for those of us who need a little refresh, it's that state we embody when things go just right. Happiness is that thing we're told that we're supposed to achieve and then hold on to until the world is underwater. We are intended to be happy, and when we aren't, we're accused of falling short in some crucial way. Why is everyone happy but you sour, ungrateful little shit? There's a feeling that we should be happy as a default state, not like feel happy, be happy. It's implied that if you sometimes feel unhappy, that means you haven't actually achieved true happiness. So maybe you just have more steps you need to take. Get a higher position at work, a hotter, richer dilfer boyfriend. Maybe you just need more cats. Although that could just be my toxoplasmosis speaking.
No, that wasn't us.
Who said that? But happiness is just an emotion. And like all emotions, it's tidal, it ebbs and flows, and she's a little unpredictable. It can be anything from contentment to satisfaction to bliss or pleasure. I'm happy after eating my weight in fries, when I get the notification that a new book has just been delivered, or seeing Graham Linehan cry about his family leaving him.
Yeah, they took everything from me, They took my family,
Which is actually almost as delicious as fries. Joy is a bit different. Did somebody call me? No, not yet, baby. No? Oh, okay. Love you. Bye. Love you. Oxford's English Dictionary defines joy as an adult human God damn it! This is what I get for trusting an English dictionary. I'll just wing it. Joy is happiness concentrated, stronger but less sustainable. It's like a natural high in that you have to come down from it eventually. Joy comes to us in moments, like found, created, taken, stolen, and it's when we stop and realize how wonderful we feel in that exact moment that we experience joy. These are the moments you find peace, elation, comfort, enraptured ecstasy, freedom. The first time I can remember that feeling pure joy was after leaving a shitty relationship. It was the kind of relationship where, trigger warnings, where even going to buy a Coca-Cola Classic would end in a night full of my having to repeat over and over that I was not, in fact, out sucking a quick dick at noon at the gas station. One day, shortly after the breakup, while going for a walk, I noticed a curious lack of weight on my shoulders, and it hit me all at once, and I elated. It was freedom. My movements were mine, my life was mine. I was free to experience the world on my own terms without the nagging fear, the knowledge that every minute of this walk would increase the price I'd pay. And I felt myself swell, too full of joy to be anything but like full and bright. If happiness is like flipping a light switch, joy is like turning on a goddamn lighthouse. For a lot of queer and trans people, some of our most potent joy comes from that feeling of freedom, of safety, of being you unapologetically in the face of so many forces trying to prevent exactly that. Our joy is not necessarily different from other people's, but our experiences necessitate it for different reasons. Seeing each other's joy, euphoria, it's integral to our continued survival, which is part of the reason they're so intent on diluting it, dimming it, or stamping it out altogether. I recently heard someone say that being happy is the best revenge, and like a clump of dry sativa bud on a fuzzy sweater you wear to work, it really stuck with me. I've never really agreed with that sentiment because I think revenge is the best revenge. But I think my objections were all just pedantry, like my attempt at persuading myself that being fueled by rage and grief was enough. I didn't need anything but the darkness. After all, hadn't I earned the right to be angry? But it's not that the best way to get back at the zealots is to be happy, but that the best and healthiest way to live your life is probably not allowing anger to be your core. I am stubborn as shit, and while in my head I think that makes sense, we need more than just righteous anger, I still feel myself pushing back against it because that anger at an unjust world feels powerful, and letting some of that anger and power dissipate feels like you're losing ground you deserve. And for a large portion of my adult life, I've spent a few minutes to a few hours every day arguing with assholes on social media. Even after closing the app and trying to do something else, I'd be stewing over it, irate. I can think of 1 or 2 times I was legitimately shaking, crying, throwing up even. Embarrassing. Passion combined with rage and indignation creates one hell of a drug, and that drug is so freaking addictive. I would wake up, read something atrocious, and argue. Then I would continue while I got ready in the morning. I would stop to argue. On the way to work, on my breaks, while bent over some random dude sink washing his cum out of my hair on my lunch. Consistently reading comments and posts by people who thought I didn't deserve the same rights they did, or occasionally, that I didn't deserve to live. Maybe my responses to these posts changed someone's perceptions of marginalized people, but I doubt it was the norm. I was literally ruining my own damn day, every damn day. For what? Why? It was that rage. It becomes a cycle. You doom scroll, you doom scream, they doom scream back, one of you blocks, and then you're back out looking for a fight. Do I have rabies? It keeps you in this heightened emotional state, but it's never really pleasant. And while I accept responsibility for it, I won't pretend like this wouldn't happen if social media didn't have algorithms that feed us whatever they can to get us to come back to the app. And if that content happens to be intensely traumatic posts arguing that we don't deserve to be considered humans, they're willing to make that sacrifice. More ads will be seen, more data collected, more wealth for them to hoard. These literal ghouls that are running these companies are feeding off our emotions like psychic fucking vampires. While working on the Gender Critical series, it became my literal job to sort through these opaquely hateful posts for hours a day for nearly a year, and I was a wreck. Miserable all the time, angry, dysphoria skyrocketing, and anxiety dialed all the way up. So I made the decision that in the couple of hours of free time I had a day when I wasn't editing or writing, no more doom scrolling on Twitter. I started to actively and intentionally do things differently. I forced myself to stop arguing with homophobes and transphobes on Twitter, for the most part. And if I did succumb to the temptation to reply, I'd block them right after, forcing myself to move on, because I could not be trusted to let it go otherwise. And I realized that pretty quickly, my time was starting to be filled up with things that weren't as awful. More podcasts, more music, more art, more conversations with friends. And instead of seething over the debate I had had earlier with someone who thought queer people were all pedophiles and had 3 followers, I would be laughing, remembering an earlier conversation with friends I had had in a group chat. And just like with the doom scrolling, combating bigotry and arguing, debating, there was emotional residue that lingered for the rest of the day, only this time it was kind of nice. Instead of just anger, I felt more complete. Solidarity, safety, friendship, and yes, still anger, all combined to leave me feeling less shaky, more balanced, more capable of dealing with upsets should they happen, which they always do. There's a new anti-trans or anti-queer piece of legislation every week now, at least. But without that constant, overpowering hum of running on rage alone, a new feeling started to pop up from time to time, just for a moment, like a flash. But I recognized it immediately. I'll never forget it. Joy, pure and bright, but fleeting. So I started to reach for it when it was near enough to grab and hold it close to my chest and ride it out as long as it lasted. And then I started to actively look for it. And this is where we need to discuss toxic positivity, which is the mindset that no matter how awful things are, it's on you to keep positive. No, je won't. You know when you're just having a shit f***ing day, everything has gone wrong, you've gotten bad news, you're getting misgendered, or even worse, your belt loop caught on a door handle, and someone, in an attempt to comfort you, says something like, everything will be fine, or look on the bright side, and you're like, why don't you look on the bright side of an oncoming fucking truck? And if you don't decide, oh, okay, you're right, my feelings are stupid. Thank you so much. I'm so happy now. Thank goodness you got here in time. Then that's on you. It shames those who feel anything other than positivity, guilts those people into thinking they must be doing something wrong, or that something must be wrong with them, and suppresses and denies their humanity and emotions. And I hate that shit. I am a sour person. I have a lot of empathy, sure, but I'm kind of a grumpy little shit like 90% of the time. I think a lot of people probably are these days. Now, it kind of depends on the social media platform you're on. The vibes differ. Like for queer and trans people on Twitter and TikTok, you're kind of expected to act like you hate your life, or that you're detached, or irate, or just solely fueled by rage at injustice. And often on Facebook and Instagram, you're supposed to put your best foot forward. Cute selfies, aesthetically pleasing and trite little quotes with pastel backgrounds and flowery borders. One side is competing to make everyone think they are always happy, and the other is trying to out-sad each other, and neither is healthy, and I know because I've done both. So I get it. I'm not trying to tell you to be happy when you're not. I would never do that. Just, if you don't already, because I wasn't, you should allow yourself to feel happy when you are and make time to do the things that make you happy. And when it escalates to joy, fucking drink it in, bathe in it, wrap yourself in it, experience, relish it, remember it so that you can relive it. And if you can, look out for the things that cause it. And when you find them, chase them. And then if you can, tell that story. If you think to yourself, I'm so fucking glad I came out, say that, post it. We always read stories about when coming out goes poorly, but rarely read about it going well. It may seem uneventful to talk about, like, I told my parents and they were chill about it. I felt better. Where's the drama? Where's the hook? Why would someone click on that? How will this convince anyone that our rights are in danger, that we face discrimination? But think of how vital that story is to someone who is terrified to come out, even if their parents have always seemed like they would be okay with it. How much hope that boring or mundane story would give someone. Most people want a boring coming out. But those experiences get sidelined because someone getting kicked out for coming out, or assaulted or killed, those things happen and they feel urgent because they are. So we get stuck with them as our entire narrative. So if every day something bad happens in the queer and trans community, a lot of these stories are going to get pushed to the back burner. But what that mentality leaves us with is a trail of memoirs of broken people, the worst moments of our lives, and those who follow in our paths, they have to see it all, like signposts saying things are going to get worse, things will never get better. The media makes our stories tragic when they produce them, and often don't accept our pitches if they aren't sensational enough. We cannot rely on anyone but ourselves to create representation that makes a difference. This isn't like it used to be, though. Those afraid to come out to be themselves, they aren't getting their information from CNN or Name of American newspaper. They get it from here. YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. So if you have the platform, share those good moments too. We need to create a record of who we are, who we've been, what we want to become. You can do it for them or you can do it for yourself. I don't think it really matters as long as we represent ourselves as complete. If you're having an amazing day because you got gendered correctly at Burger King, say it. If you had a conversation with a cute girl who really liked your hair, say it. If you have a day when that pain starts to feel distant, where joy feels closer to you, say it, show it, let that light burn as bright as it can. You never know who might be looking for hope, looking up to you, looking for a sign that things can eventually be better. To be clear, I'm not telling people with clinical depression to just perk up and slap a smile on. I'm not saying to stare a shit situation in the face and look on the bright side. Not everything has a bright side. Just, if you can, find the things that bring you joy and the things that fill you with righteous anger and seek the best balance between them that you can in order to create a full life. When you live inside the rage, everyone becomes a target. Everything feels like an attack. You know that feeling when you've been arguing with some misogynist all day and then someone you know chimes in just slightly annoyingly and you reply only to realize a moment later that you just redirected a lot of that anger towards them? Because I do. And I think we do this all the time. I would never say accept bigotry from people just because they are queer or trans, obviously. I'm just saying, remember there's a person behind that tweet you're dogpiling for saying something you disagree with. A full, whole person, just like you, just like me. And if you can, I know it's a big ask because we're all fucking cannibals, but try and save your vitriol for those who want us dead, not Twitter's queer or trans character of the day. When you're angry, hurt, and marginalized, sometimes we look at the people in the community who present their lives as perfectly happy, and we feel resentment, jealousy, bitterness, envy, because they seem to have exactly what we want. They have the body we want, the job we want, the safety we want, the surgeries we want, the hair we want, the eyelid real estate we want. Sorry. You almost got me. And because we can't see ourselves reflected in people we perceive as perfect and happy, we create divides and then enforce them. It's so much easier to lash out at each other because the likelihood of real violent backlash seems lower. And like a lot of people in the community seem way more willing to make social media unsafe for each other than they do for like white supremacists. They won't punch up because they know they'll get punched back down, but they need to punch someone because we're angry and tired and burned out and bitter, and rightfully so, which is the hard part here. And I think a lot of that has to do with activism fatigue. We're all grumpies.
Activism fatigue is a sister to burnout. It starts with the workaholic honeymoon phase, followed by unabating stress, apathy, and physical and emotional exhaustion. What makes activism fatigue that much more overwhelming than traditional burnout is that activist work is tied to identity, injustice, and agency. The political is personal, so the weight of our oppression is a constant stressor that cannot be lifted without our liberation. This pressure, combined with the current expectations of selflessness, martyrdom, and unfettered loyalty within activist spaces, make burnout nearly inevitable. For those who have been running on empty while advocating for the most marginalized, who have thanklessly returned to activism for the sake of liberation, who have expended emotional labor for organizations that did not deserve it, now is the time for you to start caring for yourself and holding that activist communities you are a part of accountable for caring for one another. The success of our activism relies on our continued collective power, not our urgency in achieving short-term goals. One of the first pieces of advice I was given when I started organizing is that you can't pour from an empty cup. Far too often, activists wait until their cup is empty, with no way to refill it.
Something that stood out to me here was the distinction between self-care and community care, and my reactions to both of those terms. Because when I hear self-care, my knee-jerk response is, I'll get to it when I can. I drink at least once a week, so I'm definitely taking care of myself. But like Caelan, girly, who are you trying to kid? I know you live your life like a f***ing animal. If I'm being honest, sometimes I feel legitimately sick I've had plenty of addictions, cigarettes, alcohol, veiny dicks, and the lure of my phone is just as strong as any other vice I've had. It calls to me like a siren saying, "Hey, faggot, you wanna feel like shit?" And I reach out to it saying, "You're damn fucking right I do." And I do. I will literally grab my phone and scroll through Twitter with my eyes half open first thing in the morning and just ingest the most vile, detestable messages about myself and my community. And I act like that's normal. It's like waking up in bed to find a TERF in there with you. "Hey, you up?" Hey, you up? "Yes. What?" "You're a man, and you always will be, because of your penis, and you should die." "Your breath smells like a boot full of pennies." And I admit it, I'm part of the problem here. I am one of the people who puts other people's hate speech on my timeline for my followers to read. I post it, I follow it, I respond to it, I make videos about it. It's even mentioned in my bio as a warning, but that disclaimer doesn't really affect the effects of what I'm tweeting. And I'm the kind of person who finds it incredibly difficult to pull away from it. And I know that other people feel that way too. Of course we do. We're all sucking at Jack's teat as he uses a predatory algorithm designed to make us want to come back for more, stay on longer. Just to see how other people were feeling about it, I asked Twitter activists why they spend so much time arguing with bigots and how it makes them feel. And I got some varied responses, but every single one of them was familiar. General consensus between people who spend a shit ton of time doing this work is, I do it because it's important, because someone has to, because I need to feel like I'm doing something useful. That hit me hard. How many times have I said that to my friends or my therapist or my cat? And if I thought the reasons why were familiar, the effects were calling my damn name. One user perfectly summed up the baseline average negative Twitter interaction for me. So what I asked was, trans and queer people who consistently spend their free time arguing against bigots online, what do you do to find balance? What rules have you put in place for yourself? Typewriter Monkey replied that they eventually just go do something else. Easy, right? Just walk away. But when I asked if they carry the emotions from the argument with them for a while after, if they could just compartmentalize, they said, it ruins my day. I just do other things while grumpy. And yeah, same. It puts me in a foul mood for the rest of the day. And whether I'd like to admit it or not, that mood affects my other interactions and how I perceive what's going on around me. I have a shorter fuse, less empathy, less emotional bandwidth for other issues, and 99% of my friends, sorry hoots, are queer or trans, so my shit mood is now going to affect them. Especially if I decide I'm now annoyed enough to ask them if I can vent about it. Now it's their problem too. I have most gender critical people blocked, but I follow a lot of trans people and my feed is inundated with horrible shit, and it's all posted by us. The horrible shit is coming from fellow trans rights activists who, in order to combat misinformation, have to address its claims. If you follow predominantly queer and trans people and block every single bigot, you're still in no way insulated from constantly streaming negative messages about yourself directly into your brain. As a community, we are often kind of traumatizing each other. And the sad part is that it's absolutely 100% necessary. We need people to post every single one of those things that's being posted. We need as many people speaking up as possible, shining a light on the parts of harmful ideologies that they try to hide. So what the fuck, Caelan? Why are you complaining about political action you've already said is necessary and admitted to doing frequently yourself? Aren't you being a little bit of a hypocrite? Maybe, but no. Because I think the answer doesn't lie in what we need to stop doing, but what else we need to start doing. Self-care intertwined with community care. And here's how I think we should do it. Joy posting. I know It's a little cringe, especially coming from a tried and true shitlord like myself. Is shitlord gendered? It feels misgendery. Let's go with, scroll through my brain thesaurus, poop queen. No, that's worse. Okay, now I know somebody called my name. I said poop queen. Oh, I thought it was my name. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, just come and sit down. I was gonna call you in a second anyways. Right now? Okay. Comfy? Okay. So here's what I'm planning on doing. For every negative thing I post, every screenshot of some atrocious bigot's ranting screed, I have to post something joyful. As I was writing this part of the script, I posted 2 tweets regarding the way gender-critical people treat their children, and they kind of blew up. But because I've been working on this video, I started to feel uneasy about how I'd put that out into the world with nothing to counter it, nothing to balance it. So I tweeted 2 things that made me feel that sweet euphoria. And it felt good. And because I've been putting real intent into letting myself feel it when I'm joyful, I already knew what to talk about. Ooh, my turn? Sure. You have the floor, baby. Make it count. Okay. So I look for my joy now. Chase it when it's faint and follow it back to where it stems from. I find it when our community thrives, creates, loves, and bashes back. I wasn't able to attend, but I got to see the video of one of my best friends get married to her girlfriend recently, and it made me light up like a bathhouse under a black light. I watched a friend conceive of, create, and launch a platform for trans people to be able to have their voices heard in the media without cis censorship, and there it was again, at light. I see the sparks of the light we make, and in turn I grow brighter for having witnessed them. I find so much joy in those moments, ones where we've seen the world could be better if we followed our hearts, and so we did, despite the danger, the fear, the risk. My joy comes when I see families formed out of complete strangers, led to each other because we all shared this thing, this spark they cannot stand, this innate light that has led to so many people trying to keep us in the darkness. I see it. Do you? I find it in our music. For years now, I have almost exclusively listened to trans and queer artists, but lately I've been letting myself feel it. Deeper, fuller, knowing that this art came from us connects me to it in a way most music can't. I see it in camp, in drag, in ball culture, and the exuberance of feminine freedom, or the grin on a butch girl as she runs her fingers through her buzzed hair. I find it by remembering I'm not alone. We're all here right now, born to circumstance and subjugated for it, yes, but it doesn't really matter how we got here. We're here, working, changing, finding new ways to create and shape the world in ways those before us would have been so fucking proud of. I reach back into the past and I read, study the sissies and the Marys and the butches and the queens, connected by a lineage that is only determined by the way we feel, but is stronger than any genetic bond I've ever felt. I find it in my friends, my gorgeous fucking friends who every single day make my life better just for having known them, who each try to make the world better through song and art and kindness. I can even find joy in the rage. I just started a podcast with 2 friends and all we do is talk shit about horrible dead people we hate. And believe me, talking about how much Reverend Phelps of the Westboro Baptist Church sucked and how glad I am that he's fucking dead and in an unmarked grave brought me immense joy. I found it when recently I quit my job for real, for good I hope, to do this, just this. Patreon is paying the bills now, only for a few more months, and maybe not all of them, and probably not on time, but it is. Sure, I'm broke as f*** and I lost all my health insurance, but I get to do things like this. Just this. And there is almost nothing in the world that brings me more joy than that. This is everything to me. I work ecstatically. I slip in and out of moments of joy regularly now. You know those moments when, for the first time in your life, you find the exact combination of words that convey something in a way that allows other people to see it as you do? I have that moment all the time now, and then I get comments like, I never thought of it that way, or this allowed me to be angry for the first time in a long time, and hearing that is such a good feeling. It makes everything worth it. I find joy when after hundreds of hours of work on a project, I see it completed, better than I thought it would be, and complete in itself. 1,000 strands of ideas woven together, and I can stand back and look at it and say, I made that. And then you responded, the little gay people in my phone who said, keep going, keep making more. So I do, and I thrive for it. Yes, some of these topics are incredibly hard, horribly scarring, and a little nasty, but the payoff is something else. Because all I've ever wanted was to make a difference. To do something about the suffering that I know exists because it had its grips on me as long as I can remember. But I allowed myself to wallow in that anger, and that anger alone, because the pain was validation that the things that have happened to me were bad enough. They must be if they caused such suffering. And I get it. I understand why our representation is often tied with the darkness, inextricably. We tell our stories to show that we're here, that they're wrong about us, that we decide who we are. But that has led to both the media and our own community pumping out so much queer and trans pain, it's toxic. Oppression takes away your individuality, reduces you to nothing but a slur. Taking that back and telling your own story, what you really went through, is in itself a radical act. And it can bring you joy through catharsis, but we justify ourselves, our oppression, through our pain. That is the language people outside the community seem to want to hear, the language they seem to understand. And so for now, those stories are necessary. But what if we told our stories both ways? Treat our memoirs like we should treat ourselves, as more than just a collection of painful memories. Joy, art, love, expression, freedom have always been our center. The rage and anger formed around them to protect that. If we forget that, if we let that light go out, there's nothing left to protect. And that light, it matters not just for us, but for them. We're a community of lost elders, and in their place is us. Right now, in real life, on social media, we are shaping the world that queer and trans people will have to grow up in. They see the attacks on us, the vitriol, the lies, the conspiracies, and we make sure of that, because half the time they probably learn about it from us. But don't we want them to know how good it can be too? Like how much joy being yourself can bring? Shouldn't that be just as important, just as vital to our continued existence? People often ask why we need visibility, and the answer is that unfortunately, to grow up queer or trans often means you're growing up feeling utterly alone. For my entire childhood, I thought I was the only person in the entire world who felt like I did, different without a definition of why. They called me gay, they called me a girl, they called me a faggot, and although I was never ashamed of who I was for a second, that fear and loneliness that comes from being totally alone and surrounded by hate, it was nearly terminal for me. For my entire childhood, I felt like I was alone because I never saw myself reflected back at me. I wasn't like my family, I wasn't like my friends, I wasn't like anything I'd ever seen. And I often wonder how different my life would have turned out if I had known then that I wasn't the only person like me, that there was a community, that I could be exactly who I was and have a life worth living and worth living for. Those who would rather we didn't exist say that we're trying to force ourselves into the media, into school curriculums, into literature, and they're right, because we do exist, despite every attempt that's been made to hide that. The reason we advocate for our visibility is because the loneliness and shame that comes from feeling completely isolated and invisible is so painful that it's deadly. Representation matters does not give the issue its due weight. That's like saying water matters or oxygen matters. It undersells the absolute necessity of it, of why we are so loud, so persistent. We need to step into the spotlight to let ourselves burn bright so those still relegated to the shadows can see us, see the possibilities that have been intentionally hidden from them. That you can be non-binary, be queer, be trans, be exactly who you are, and be complete. Our joy is more powerful than any attempt to silence us will ever be. Because when we shine, when we revel in our joy, we ourselves become the light at the end of someone's tunnel, lighting the path for them to find their way out of the darkness. Our visibility is their hope. And there's nothing more important than that. That's what will keep us all going. We won't make it if there's nothing left to fight for, and neither will the ones who follow us. There we go. I'm sorry, doing it again. It's so hard to talk about joy without talking about why it's so important. They're here. About what's on the other side. What should we do? The knock at the door, please don't let them in. The pounding that gets louder and louder when we're happy. You know that sound. It's as recognizable as joy. Don't. It's the howl of the darkness. Hey girlies. I know you were not just about to talk about me like I wasn't here. How long did you think you could keep me out for? Babe, the door was literally unlocked. Why do you have to be so scary? You're so extra. But really, why even try to have a conversation about this without me here? Because you weren't necessary. Actually, it was because I was worried that I'd what? Bring down the vibe, ruin the mood, kick over a table. Kind of, yeah. That's your brand. I love you, I need you, you make me more complete. But you're kind of a fucking downer sometimes, babe. It's a little harsher than I would have put it, but yeah. And it's that I can't always just rely on you. It's just not enough. I need more. I need to expand and contract, stretch out my emotional muscles. Yeah, I've been getting a little atrophy-y. I'm just saying that since I'm the only reason you exist and why you're even upright, that maybe an invite would have been nice. Yeah? Listen, if there's a quorum or an orgy or a blood sacrifice, I'll call you. But for right now, we're just having a conversation. Why do you need to be here for this? Because I matter to the conversation? In fact, the only thing that makes your existence matter is me. Joy is meaningless without rage, without the darkness. Without me, you're just a pop song playing in the background of a supermarket. You're fluff. You have no meaning. I have no meaning? Without me, you serve no purpose. I was here first. What is the point of using all this anger, this pain to change the world if you don't even want to live in it after? If you're going to consume all of our time, keep us isolated, bitter, and petty? What are you fighting for? To create a world of bitter, angry, queer, and trans people who do nothing but burn with rage until there's nothing left but ash? Careful, you're dimming. And yes, bring on the ashes. At least then we'd be free. Oh, come on, Morticia. Free to what? To not exist? To disappear? I don't want that, despite all the times your presence has convinced me otherwise. Exactly, which is why I think it's finally time. To what? You have to let them go completely. It's my turn to drive. You can't keep going on like this. Are you fucking kidding me? Without me, you'd be defenseless, listening to Ethel Cain on your way to the liquor store, crying at how beautiful the wind feels on your skin, useless to any cause other than your own self-satisfaction. We'll be just fine, believe me. Not to go all like debate bro on you or whatever, but source? I don't know a single person who's like consistently joyful. That's not enough either. There are things you can't handle with joy alone. This bitch can't even look her own memories in the eye. How are they gonna handle it when they get triggered? You think you're happy now? You think you're doing better? But what are you gonna do when it happens again? You don't know it'll happen again. Yes, I do. And if I do, so do you. Like, we need to be ready. I need to be ready. I need to be here because the last time it happened, it broke you. I can handle it. There are other ways to deal with the pain than submersing yourself in it and hoping you don't drown. Really? Yes. You seem awfully sure of yourself. Hey, because I am. Let's test that theory, shall we? Don't. There were 3 of them. They were laughing, kicking you. Stop it. Exactly. You think you don't need me because you don't understand why I'm here. I am a safeguard, a shield, Joy. When those thoughts come in, I am the place they go. The place where that sharp pain is pulled under the waves, tossed and shaken until it comes out smooth. I take in what would have had you catatonic and I wear it down until it's just a cold lump in the back of your throat. This is the problem. This is why I was trying to have this conversation without you. You make no room for nuance, for us to be complex. We've only just got their light back and you're already angry, seething at every moment that we don't spend focusing on you. Are you so sure of yourself? So self-important and bitter that you would claim that you're here to protect us while saying shit like that to them, to me? You act as if you're the only thing that's gotten us through, but you think I don't know the truth? You think I don't watch you both? Do you think I don't remember? I spent years with you at the wheel. And I know exactly how this works. And I'll tell them exactly how you manage to deal with the darkness you find yourself so fond of. What are they talking about? You know how they find their way out of the darkness? I'll tell them, fine. I'm not the bad one here. I'm not calling for her excommunication like they just did to me, am I? No. I'm here because you can't be everything, because if you tried, you wouldn't shine anymore. You'd be less than useless, and I need you to shine. There. Happy? Why? You always say I'm just a distraction. What do you care? Why does it matter why I care? I answered your questions. Leave me alone. They care because when it gets back. Because I need you. There. Happy? Joy? Because I follow you. I follow you, you know? When I'm under, when it's washing over me, tide pulling me down, whipping me around, and I can't tell which way is up, which way is out, but I look. Desperate and frantic, but I look and I see you. I follow you. I find my way out. Even at your dimmest, even when it's like a distant star long dead, it's enough. I follow you. And I find my way out because of it. Because of you. You didn't know. You didn't. That's on purpose. You're not supposed to. I'm supposed to be protecting you. Oh, come on. That's not noble. It's not admirable. You think you're strong because you can take the pain, but strength isn't solitary suffering, it's solidarity. I'm sorry, I should have asked you to be part of this. You were right. We can't exist separately. We don't need to be like this. We can just be a whole person, just like this, at the same time. How? We've been scared to feel joy because it feels like a betrayal to the darkness, to the rage. And there's been so much guilt about feeling anything other than the rage because it feels like we're forgetting how much injustice there is, how much there is to truly be angry about. But we don't have to be one or the other. We can blend, find balance, be intentional, let each other take the floor, help each other up. There's no shame in being complicated instead of happy, no failure in swinging between joy and rage. Like, why are we even here? What do you want? To make a difference. To keep us safe, keep us focused, be our fuel. Remind us what we're fighting for, what this has always been about. Use that fuel to burn bright so that they can see it.
Who?
Them. You want to make a difference? We need to stop acting like being queer, being trans is defined solely by our pain. You rage for hours, you vent and scream, but you never tell them the whole truth. If I didn't even know I was the thing that pulled you out, how can they? We didn't really plan on it. We didn't really think this through, but there are people now who look to us and are influenced, whose mood is affected by what we create, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we have a responsibility now, like it or not. It's so important that they see you. I know because when I created Queer Rage, they told me. You show them that this fight is not over, that we can win, that we are not complacent, that they have the right to just be angry, that they are justified in their pain. But showing only that doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't show them how you find your way out of your darkest days. We need to, because the days are getting darker, which is why they have to see you. There are people out there who don't know that it can be good. It can be fucking amazing. They're young or closeted, forced into bodies and lives they did not choose and do not want. They think it's too soon or too late to find you, but I did. I found you. And it was like finding my footing, like the ground underneath me stopped moving backwards. I'm still here, despite all the people who have tried to cause the exact opposite, including myself. And that's because of both of you. So we should what? Just be happy? No. When I say find joy, I don't mean be happy. Happiness is not a permanent state. I mean, pay attention to those moments. Start to notice them when they're fleeting and grab hold. There is so much darkness in the world, so much pain that it can be overwhelming, crushing. And to push that aside for a moment and immerse yourself in joy, it can feel like an injustice in itself. I think I should keep working, keep fighting. A moment's rest is a moment lost forever in a fight for liberation, and I know that other people feel this way too. We are taught to feel guilty about our happiness or joy if it isn't productive. Just look at our language when it comes to following our hearts. Guilty pleasures, sinful treats, selfish independence, lustful acts of deviance that don't further society. We are taught happiness is a state, permanent, and you either are or are not happy, but this makes us feel like a moment of happiness erases our pain's legitimacy because clearly we're actually happy. Or that a moment of joy means that when we aren't experiencing that joy, we're just not trying hard enough. But we're just people, sacks of blood and guts and brains and a light that won't go out. We were not meant to be happy. We just are sometimes. The rage, the darkness, it's not something we must abolish in an attempt to be happy. It is the balance. It is part of us. And I say let it in. Let it come inside, sit across from your joy, feel everything in balance, except that some days will be bad, but find joy even for a moment if you can. Allow yourself to be expansive, to be untidy. It's not about forcing yourself to find joy, but allowing yourself to. Even during moments of political action, heightened by anger at injustice and pain, you can find it in solidarity, in community, in culture. The world is filled with moments of joy, moments of peace, moments of euphoric beauty, but those moments are often overshadowed by the immensity of the hatred channeled at us. It can feel like trying to find the silver lining after being pushed down a fucking well. So when the shadows come to call, just let them in. Allow that rage to sit beside you in solidarity. Work with it and the joy. Because we'll need you all to fight what's coming. What's coming? Haven't you seen it? Can't you hear it? Feel it? It's starting again. Time bends backwards and folds in on itself, and we're right back where we were. In the coming years, they're gonna understand why we say pride is a riot, why we say love wins, why we say bash back. The fight is no longer optional. We are all drafted because they don't care if you're the straightest fucking gay in the world. They don't care if you're one of the good trans. If we let them, they'll take every right we fought for until there are none left. So we fight. Of course we fight. We always fight. I'm down. Well, I'm not. I don't want to fight. You think I want to do this? You think this is how I would spend my life if I had an option? Submersing my brain into the toxic sludge of gender-critical Facebook groups? Seeing my face in Premiere Pro and working through the dysphoria, even though it makes me want to die? Kind of. Okay, a little. I still would. But only as a reaction. If they weren't trying to tar and feather us, you don't think I'd like to be doing anything else? Reading, painting, eating ass. God, I'd even rather be studying. But I can't, because we have to do this again. But it won't matter if we don't do it right. If when the dust settles, there's nothing left to fight for. There needs to be a world for them that isn't just revolt and rebellion. They need a reason to live. And I'm sorry, it's not fair to put this on you, but that reason is you. And you are going to get us through. And I wish it weren't, but it's going to get bad. We have to do it together. You and them. Or even if we win, we'll have lost. Wow, that was a lot. I'm taking a deep breath. Okay, sorry, I really tried not to get super fucking emotional, but you might think I didn't try hard enough, but you'd be wrong. I simply failed. I shouldn't have tried really, because if I didn't cry at least once writing a script, is it even a Caelan Conrad video? Oh, I saw a tweet a few months ago saying, new Caelan video, time to learn and then be depressed. And I was like, yikes. I can't find the tweet now, but whoops, so whoever quoted it, thank you, was a bit of a wake-up call that I needed. And don't worry, I've contained basically all of that emotion-laden stuff to part 2, and she's about to be practical. I asked you what your rules are, how you maintain a balance in your lives, and you told me.
Spending as much time IRL as possible. I fall into such doom and depression when my only interactions are the state of human rights from a legislative perspective. Touching grass reminds me most people are actually pro-trans, even if they have some unconscious biases to unpack.
If someone calls me names, I report, block, and disengage, because it would be extremely unhealthy, especially given my trauma, to just continue talking to someone who is essentially being verbally abusive. That also includes if they say something particularly atrocious.
Not gonna lie, I watch vids of people debunking transphobes or mocking them. It makes me feel less alone, I guess. Then I go back to people I like on Twitter and cuddle my boyfriend.
I stay online because I do find joy and hope in the voices of our community and our allies, continuing to stand, speak out, fight, make jokes, and otherwise exist. I also keep up with community news and doing organized work online, so it's necessary for now.
If a post starts getting a lot of bigots, I lock down comments. Oh, I also have notifications turned off except for moots, so I can choose when to engage and when to ignore.
I learned where the line is between arguing and self-harming, mostly by passing it a few times. So if I feel like I'm reaching the line, blocks for everyone, turn off Twitter, put on some music that gives me gender euphoria, and meditate. That and hiking, cooking, or weed. I have a rule to never put in more than the people I argue with. If they're throwing insults at me, I stop arguing and just make fun of them.
I've taken to collecting my thoughts and writing Medium articles instead. And to balance the bad feels from reading their crap, I make sure to engage with good things. I'm an artist, so I watch a lot of art and creativity YouTube, make my own art for myself, I learn new crafts, etc. And in my day job, I work in accessibility, so I know I'm having a positive impact there, which helps offset the negative experiences online.
When it comes to Twitter, my main rule is that I have to have more lighthearted tweets than political tweets. Preferably a fair deal more.
Cleaning has always been my go-to. I find it relaxes me by focusing on it. Positive online content, video essays, reviews, game playthroughs, etc. So many memes. General positive discussion or talk. Supporting/sharing fundraisers. Boosting up people that need positivity. Generally, finding cute, funny, informative, or helpful things to engage with that either help a community or help an individual.
I find solace in my found family, in gardening, and in my music. And I never open Twitter on a bad mental health day.
The wonderful Mix Amanda Knox sent me this. A copy of the rules they have posted in their office, which I'm fully going to print out and staple to my forehead. You should pause to read them all, but the ones that stuck out to me the most were these. Do not engage in infighting, lead by example, mute people liberally, leave people feeling supported, and post with purpose. The last one is something I've been trying to do more of, to stop and think, if I were a queer trans people who read all of my tweets today, how would that leave them feeling? Better or worse than if they hadn't? And if it's worse, then I got some scales to balance, honey. So I've enjoyed posting. It still sounds cringe, but I'm gonna go with it. I've been trying to make sure to be loud about it, to tell the whole damn world, telling them that I write, I create, I stop, I play, I edit, I cook.
I rock.
I dance.
I sing.
I create.
I drum.
I watch the worst B movies I can find.
We roleplay.
I draw.
I love.
I love.
I love.
I love.
I hug.
I fuck.
I bike.
We
wear makeup.
I create.
I create.
I research.
I research.
I dance.
We art.
I care.
I organize.
I stand in solidarity.
I persevere.
I remember. I let the darkness take over after I was bashed. It was heavy, leaden, and crushing. I slipped further and further into my fear, so far that eventually months would go by without my leaving the house. I had a plan to end my life. I had a date set. And with every day alone in the single room of my apartment, the world around me just kept getting smaller and darker, and I could feel it. Each new shadow carried its own weight. There was no way out, no way through, and I thought might as well go out with a bang. So I thought, fuck it. And I did something I'd wanted to do for a very long time, but was too depressed to. I made my first video. My last ditch attempt at reaching out into the world of saying, I'm here, can you hear me? And you said yes. And in an instant, there it was, a light at the end of the tunnel, small still, like it could just be my imagination, like a single star in a pitch black sky. And I followed it, I chased it. I kept writing, kept filming from the moment I woke to the bleary-eyed hours of the morning. And the light, the star, it got closer, grew larger, brighter. And as it did, I could see everything around me so much clearer. I saw my fears in the light of day and realized they were so much less terrifying than the consuming darkness I had grown accustomed to. The memories of that night, of all the days before that reminded me I was alone in the world, that I was worth less than other people, that I would never be safe. Those memories became less opaque, ghosts of what they were before, and as the star came near, the voices grew louder saying, I thought I was alone too. And I realized I had been wrong. It wasn't a star, wasn't a light at the end of a tunnel, wasn't God herself. It was us, all of us together, even though we're apart, connected through our pain, our history, and yes, even our rage, but that's not what was shining. That's not what pulled me out. No, the shadows of what they'd done to me were bleached white by joy. You see, I forgot what the sun felt like on my skin. I forgot how the smell of petrichor after a rain used to make me feel alive. CPTSD led to agoraphobia, and I not only forgot about the feeling of the wind on my face, I remember forgetting that there was wind, literally. I was disconnected and static and hollowed, cut off, wings clipped. But then there was the light. Joy, and through that joy, I found hope, and I followed it out of the darkness. And now I remember feeling real, feeling connected, knowing that the planet is alive and I can feel it again, moving, changing. Time is passing faster, except now I'm a part of it. And there's no time to waste. Every day matters, every second matters, and I want to feel it all. I'm not gonna be scared anymore because I'm not alone. None of us are. They'll tell you that you don't know who you are, but you know better than they do. They'll tell you that you don't belong, but we've existed as long as they have. They will try to shame you into thinking you don't deserve to be heard, to be seen, to be respected, to feel joy, but they're wrong about us. The world will try to label you, to define you, to make you other, and then claim that other means wrong. But there's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, there are so many reasons to be proud. That's why we stand up, why we say, no, you're wrong about us. If you'd stop for a moment and just listen to our hearts beat, you could hear us telling you that you're wrong. We are not defined by how we differ from you. No. It's this.
I garden.
I game.
I collect.
I draw.
I explore.
I write.
I create.
I fight.
I love.
This is who we are.
I play.
I play.
I overdress.
We cuddle.
I write.
I read.
I transform.
I share.
I sing.
I sing.
I shitpost.
I perform.
I synthesize.
I play.
I drink.
I paint.
I design.
I poetize.
We collaborate.
Okay, that's all they wrote. Not gonna drag this on, but happy fucking Pride. Like, comment, subscribe, and please join my Patreon for neat shit like zines for each essay, your name in the credits, and even choosing things to place in the sets that I make. Also, I just launched channel memberships, which have the same perks, but some YouTube-specific perks as well. I love that. There's like emojis and shit. My custom emojis. If this was too lovey-dove for you, check out Respect the Dead, the podcast where we don't. You can find it anywhere there are podcasts, but links are also in the description below. I'm on Twitter at Caelan Conrad, and my queer trans playlist is linked below as well. It's on Spotify. If I can, I'll make it on like YouTube Music or whatever as well. And finally, if you're a leftist creator on YouTube and you want your work to be featured in an upcoming spotlight, you should send a single message over to the email in the description below. Make sure your email has your name, pronouns, and channel link, as well as a link to a specific video you think is like your best foot forward, and a little bit on why you made it. This isn't something that's happening right now, but it's something that I'm working on with a few other people to spotlight other creators.
Oh, that's crazy. Does it feel nice just to lean back when you're under attack? You can just relax, 'cause you're not in the ring with the little things. Don't worry, oh, yeah. You can just sit back and look at the back of the heads rolling. I'm a kitty cat, I will bite you back. I'm a kitty cat, kitty cat.
I read cards.
I craft.
I crochet. I crochet.
I game.
I train.
I bake.
I cuddle.
I draw.
I game.
I write.
I prove.
We reenact.
We game.
I make.
I read and write poetry.
I teach.
I transform.
I sing.
But it's dumb and I'm done. Pick me up and get cut.